Good Sunday morning, August the 6th. Here
Doesn't
here,
seem
here
doesn't seem like it, does it?
time is flying by, but that just means that we are that much closer to football season. That's what's so great about it.
Yep,
But
20
so
days.
but, we're not here to talk about regular season right now. We're here to talk about college realignment and the kind of issues that it is going to cause.
Oh, it's massive. We've already seen players come out against it.
Yeah,
Coaches are coming out pretty hard against it.
yeah,
We'll discuss
yeah,
some of that here in just a few minutes.
yeah. So I've read your article um multiple times. Great work, by the way. Excellent. I mean, it's one of the best articles I think that I've ever seen written in recent history, and that's no joke. It's really good. It's on College Football Dogs. Go check them out. But you talk about though in that article the the rivalries, how the rivalries are done now.
Hmm.
I believe the Pac-12 only has four teams left in it,
Yep,
correct?
four teams right now: Cal,
Yeah,
Stanford, Oregon State, and
yeah.
Washington State.
And on top of that, all of these student athletes, you mentioned this, they're going to have to travel across the country for
Yep.
for what? This is big, and I think that Drink said it best the other day, or I think it was yesterday, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, whenever he mentioned this is bigger than football. What about the softball players, the baseball, track, and all these other sports that they have to literally travel from Oregon all the way up to Michigan? That makes no sense to me.
For a midweek game, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Right. I
wild.
mean, football is one thing, but because it's a Saturday sport. But yeah, what about during the midweek when they're studying? They're, they're they have exams they got to take. Um, I mean, what's your take on this? I'm very genuinely curious.
So one of the things I mentioned is imagine, if you will, Arizona.
Yep.
They've joined the Big 12.
Yeah.
What's that stadium going to look like on a Saturday night
Hmm.
uh, in October
Hmm.
where Arizona is hosting UCF?
Yeah. Yeah.
It generates no interest. The stadium's going to be empty.
Yeah.
So I feel like the financial impact is going to be a net negative because you're
Yeah.
running all these games with
Hmm.
no fans in the stadium because they generate
Hmm.
no interest.
Um, what did I? Okay, I saw this tweet and it actually had like a dollar amount by Texas for the Big 12, by Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, and then also them adding all these other teams. It was millions of dollars that
Hmm.
they had lost just by losing Texas and Oklahoma.
Yep.
Um,
The valuation of the Big 12 is a net negative
yeah,
$819 million.
that's crazy to me. That's just insane to me. Um, Something else that I just think is crazy is the fact that you're all you're trying to do is add quantity, not quality. These teams that
Yeah,
they have added are not quality teams. I'm sorry, they're just not. Sure,
right.
sure. Oregon is a brand. Washington is a brand, but whenever
Arizona
you're
is
trying,
not.
right, right. I mean, Arizona is not. Arizona State is not. Um, of course, USC is a household name,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
UCLA is not. So I just
yeah.
don't understand why they're trying to add. Before it's over, dude, you're likely to see 26 teams in the Big Ten, and I just don't get that. I think you've even mentioned this in your article, where once upon a time there was a super conference in the SEC, and
Yeah.
eventually it disbanded
Yep.
because of financials.
Yeah. Teams couldn't afford to travel, and
Yeah,
to be fair, that was back in the 30s.
Right. Yeah.
But even still, the cost
Mhm.
of travel, the effect it
Mhm.
has on the student athlete,
Mhm.
you know. Uh, One of the things I find interesting is back 12, 15 years ago when Boise State was doing their thing,
Mhm.
going unbeaten or maybe losing one game. What people didn't realize is the difficulty they had in that.
Mhm.
They always talked about they played a soft schedule,
Yeah.
but they'd fly from Idaho to
Mhm.
Hawaii, back to Hawaii,
Mhm.
and then they'd fly to Ruston, Louisiana,
Yeah.
and back to Idaho. They were crisscrossing the country on a weekly basis. They were playing games on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a
Mhm.
Friday, a Saturday, any day of the week.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't see the big name teams like Alabama and Georgia do
Right.
those kinds of things.
Mhm.
The impact travel has on the human body is unspeakable.
Jet lag is a real thing, man.
It is. It is.
It
And
especially when you're going from totally different time zones that are like 4 and 5 hours apart.
yep. And I actually thought last night about what about basketball? People are talking about softball and
Yeah.
baseball, but what about
Yeah.
basketball?
Yeah, dude.
Let's say USC
Mhm.
has to fly out to uh, New Jersey to play Rutgers
Yeah. Yeah.
on a Thursday night game,
Mhm.
and then the game don't get over till 8:30 or 9 o'clock New
Yeah.
Jersey time, and then they have to fly all the way back to
Mhm.
USC. They're getting home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
have to be up for an 8 a.m. class.
Mhm. Like I said, man, I think Drink said it best. I know that I've hated on the coach, but look, after his remarks that he made,
Yep.
yesterday, I've gained a lot of respect for him. And I'm just being honest.
Right.
The
Right.
way that he put it, it was the adults in the room made the decision, and they did not even ask one time how the student athlete feels, and they're the ones who put the product on the field.
Yep. Yep. And it's all for a dollar. It's all for a dollar, and it's based on football.
Yeah, exactly. And look, colleges offer so much more. I understand that we mainly talk about football on this show, but colleges offer so much more than than just football.
Right.
I mean, you look at North Carolina, for instance. Yeah, sure, they have a decent football team, but what are they known for? They're known for basketball. Dude,
Yep.
they're known for basketball. Um, do you see in the future the SEC adding any more teams in the near future within the next couple of years?
To be honest,
Yeah.
no.
Do you think that Greg Sankey is happy with the amount of teams that are in the SEC?
I think he is. He actually addressed that at
Yeah.
SEC Media Days and said
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
looking to add anybody anytime
Right,
soon.
right.
And what I'm seeing on Twitter,
Mhm.
take it for what it's worth. There are people on Twitter making accusations that ESPN has actually told the SEC they cannot expand anymore because there's no
Sure,
more money.
sure.
And in that, you have to understand when they
Mhm,
expand and they bring a team in, ESPN would have to pay for their
mhm.
library of games so
Yeah,
they can use the
and
highlights, and
what what
they
was it?
just
Over
don't
a
have the money.
billion dollars, right? They,
Yeah,
I think they paid for the SEC rights like over like $1 billion, right? So you have to split. And I understand that's for what is, I think, a 10-year period or something like that. It's a
mhm,
contract period, I know, but you have to split all that money between all three of those teams. Okay, Clemson really isn't saying anything, but Florida State is throwing a fit right now because I guess the money just isn't there for the ACC.
right.
Um, but Florida State, though, they're wanting in the SEC so bad they can't stand it. Now, Florida State did have an opportunity about 30 years ago to join the SEC, and
And they
Bobby
turned it down.
Bowden did not want to join. Bobby Bowden did, because he said
Yep.
he did not want that type of competition because his path to the national championship would be much easier. And I understand, I get
Mhm.
it, But looking 30 years later, do you think that was a mistake for Florida State not wanting to join?
I don't think it was a mistake then.
Mhm.
Because the dynamics just I understand they were the national brand at the time,
Yeah.
but you look at what they've done in the ACC. They've for the most part they've struggled in the ACC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
What their most recent 2013, that's their most recent national championship. But
yep,
since then, they really haven't done anything.
right.
Now Mike Norvell, he is getting Florida State back on the right track. They had their first 10-win season since Jimbo Fisher.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't understand. Oh, okay, maybe I do understand why all these teams are wanting to. They're chasing the dollar.
Yeah,
That ultimately that's what they're trying to do is chase the dollar. But again, this doesn't. They're not thinking about the student at the end of the day.
right. And it's all football based.
It
It
is. It
uh,
is.
so what you're going to end up with, the dirty little secret in college softball is that it's not profitable in any
Right.
way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
school that every school that plays college softball loses money.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're adding more travel costs to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also it's gonna force them. Some schools are gonna have to quit playing just because they can't afford it.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think anything about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's I mean,
Even
okay, take
even in,
Tennessee for
yeah,
instance.
even in the SEC, there's
Oh,
only like four or
right.
five teams in
Yeah.
baseball that
Yeah.
make a profit.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Of course, Vandy being, I would say, probably at the top of the list. I would almost imagine them, Florida, Tennessee, maybe
surprise,
Alabama.
surprisingly, that list is Ole Miss,
Mhm.
Vanderbilt,
Mhm.
LSU, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Arkansas might be in there. I can't remember.
But
It
I
seems
could
like
I
Arkansas
could
is
see
in there.
that. I could see that, and in recent years, kinda, Tennessee is kind
And
of become a
yeah,
little more
Tennessee's getting
popular.
better. Yeah, they're
I was
getting
gonna I
more
was gonna say
profitable.
I was gonna say it's kinda become a little more popular around here since Tony V has come on. Um, but, that's kind of besides the point. You know, back to your point of you saying that's just adding more travel cost, for the softball teams, and I think you brought up a very valid point that schools are probably going to have to stop playing softball, and there you go. You just screwed up an opportunity to give a young lady an opportunity to play college ball.
Right, right.
I
And
mean I mean, to be able to get a free education from that.
and and it's and they're doing it to make money in football.
Yeah. Yeah. So kinda moving on, how do you see this? Obviously, we're going to the 12-team playoff next
Mhm.
season. How do you see the committee revamping this since there's going to be so many teams in the Big 12 and the Big 10?
So a lot of people don't realize that there's actually a proposal that's been on the table since June of last year,
Mhm,
and it was brought to the table by university presidents.
mhm.
And the proposal is that they have playoffs in every sport,
Yeah,
and that 25% of all teams make the playoffs.
yeah.
So, like, let's take college baseball for instance.
Okay.
Currently the field is 64 teams.
Mhm.
If you take 1/4 of 300 teams that play Division One college baseball, you're looking at about 80 teams in the tournament.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And with college football, 1/4 of 130 would be
Mhm.
roughly 26 teams.
Well, now D2, right, is it 24 teams, I think?
Uh, I know FCS is 16.
Okay, okay. And then Division 3, I know is a little more than that, I think. I think it's all the way up to 32. I could be wrong,
Right,
totally wrong, but I'm
right.
almost positive it's 32 teams. Um, so you're thinking that the potential is to have 25%. of the teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah,
Potentially.
there's potential that could happen. And the
Okay.
proposal was brought by G5 schools.
Okay, I gotcha.
And if you think about it, the G5 schools
Hmm.
outnumber the P5 schools.
That's true. That is true.
So if it comes down to it, I could see them forcing the issue and saying, "Hey, you have to include more teams if you're going to do it this way."
Hmm. Now, keep in mind though, the NCAA has nothing to do with the college football playoff.
Right.
They have nothing to do with it. It's mainly baseball, softball, and basketball.
Hmm.
So maybe they could force the committee's hand. I don't know, but that would be a very interesting thing to happen, to have 25% of the teams fielded out there. I think that
Yeah.
it would be really cool, because then you would get to see games that you've never seen before ever.
Right.
I mean, that's the most honestly, that's the most exciting thing about this is, who knows, Tennessee, they could play Kansas for all we know. They could play TCU.
Right.
Um, and then also the really cool fact that, that teams, they get to hold a playoff game at their home stadium. I
Yep.
think that's a really cool aspect as well.
Yeah. I love the home playoff games,
Mhm.
and some old fashioned people. I love the bowls. I love what they represent.
Yep.
So when people complain that, well, now you're taken away from the bowl games.
Mhm.
Well, I don't think so,
Yeah.
because you can incorporate the bowl games as
Absolutely.
playoff games.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't see why you wouldn't. Um, I mean, especially like the second round,
Yeah.
you know,
I
potentially,
mean,
the
think
potentially
about
like
it.
the
You
what?
could have, you could have, let's say, I'm just going to pick Vanderbilt out of the thin air.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Vanderbilt going to the Hall of Fame Bowl, or what
Okay.
used to be called the Hall of Fame Bowl,
Mhm.
to play a Boise State
That'd be cool.
for an opportunity to move on to the Gator Bowl later on.
Why not?
I mean, why not? You're incorporating the bowl games in a playoff scenario, and
Mhm.
you'll have to give me props, because yes, I'm drinking out of my Vanderbilt cup. But let me tell you, this thing is full of some Bones coffee. Getting my caffeine on this morning.
There you go, man. There you go. Bones Coffee. If you are watching the live, please use the promo code Dog Bones. You get 10% off your order. Um, I've yet to get to try it, but I'm taking Chris's word for it. This stuff is better than, well,
Yeah,
so, or other brands that are
it's
out there.
it's very good. I got the
Yeah,
French vanilla going on this morning.
yeah. And then also, be sure to check out our buddy Gage Mitchell and his Old 10 brand.
Hmm.
His website is Ole 10, and that is OLETENN.com. He has some of the coolest stuff out there, especially if you are a Tennessee fan. He has a lot of really cool apparel out there. The brand is brand new. He's trying his best to get the name out there. Um, so be sure to use discount code S2N to get 10% off of your order there as well.
So, looking forward. Are you going to be on the show this afternoon?
No, no, actually my dad is actually having his birthday. Well, my mom's throwing him a surprise party today, so I got to be there, so that's, sometimes family comes first before football.
Right, right.
You know what
And
I'm saying?
and speaking of such, I go down to my mother's house about
Mhm.
once or twice a month on a Sunday afternoon and
Yeah.
do all of her weed eating for
Nice, man.
her. She's
Good for you.
78 years old,
Yeah.
and it just so happens today is that day. So I don't know if I'm going to be back in time for the afternoon video this afternoon, but they're going to be talking about the top 5
Yeah.
wide receivers in the SEC.
Mhm.
And full disclosure, they did include tight ends in that.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to be surprised at who we think are some of the top 5 receivers.
Yeah, and look, so I give my list to Michael, so I think Michael's gonna be, delivering my list.
Yep.
not. I kind of went by not only some stats, but I kind of went by who I believe will be some breakout receivers this coming season as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it. Me and you we were talking. Not every receiver that runs 100 mile an hour is going to be the best receiver in the conference.
Right. Right. And to be fair, I actually, everybody knows that I'm just a Tennessee hater, but I actually did, I did seriously consider a Tennessee wide receiver as a top 5.
Yeah.
And it's not that he puts up a ton of stats.
Yeah.
It's what he brings to the field and opens up other receivers along with it.
Yeah. No, I'm almost positive I know who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If it is Ramel Keaton, you're absolutely right. Like I said, I don't know if it is Ramel Keaton, but if it is, you're absolutely right.
I was
Um,
actually thinking Brew McCoy because you have
well,
to
yeah,
double cover him, and that
Br-
opens somebody else up.
Brew McCoy is he has such a big frame.
Mm-hmm.
It is very hard to bring that man down.
Yep.
In the Alabama game last year, he made a very big boy catch in double coverage.
Yep. Yep.
And if Brew McCoy didn't make that catch, Tennessee wasn't winning that game against Alabama last year.
Yep. And for me, there's one biased player in there, but it goes without saying he was one of the top receivers in the league last year.
Look,
But
man, look, and everybody that watches this show knows that I'm a Vandy hater, but Will Shepherd is the real deal.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I could see Will Shepherd, I could see Brew McCoy, I could see those guys playing in the league this coming next season. I honestly could.
Definitely.
They have NFL size, they have NFL speed, they have the hands for it, so why not?
Right. And to see Will Shepherd grow into that, because when he was a freshman, his entire game was just get straight up the field.
Yeah.
No cuts, no play on the ball, just straight up the field and say, "Hey, I'm open."
and that look, that's what Jalen Hyatt did last year.
So
he may have made a couple slants, but now though, shoot, Tyreek Hill can no longer say he's the fastest man in the NFL.
Right. But,
honestly, I was gonna say I knew Jalen Hyatt was fast. I didn't know he was that fast though.
Right. And in full disclosure, I actually have a tight end.
Yeah.
At my number one. I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. I have him as my number one.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to reveal my list in total.
No.
But it's going to be fun to see where everybody else has some of these guys.
I almost say Kenny will have 4 out of 5 are going to be Auburn receivers.
I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't either. And look. I mean, I don't really follow Auburn football that well, so I really don't know their names off the top of my head, and I'm not going to act like I do. But I really don't know if there's any guys that really would stand out this coming season at Auburn.
I think they have one wide receiver that might get some love on there, but beyond that, I don't think they have a wide receiver room like some of the other teams in the SEC do.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it. Honestly, Will Shepherd, he is likely to have one of the biggest breakout seasons as an SEC receiver. Well, Chris, obviously, you follow Vanderbilt football closer than anybody that I've ever met. What is your biggest concern this year for the Vandy team?
Injuries.
Really?
Yeah, injuries. Because yes, we've got starters and second team players that can play at the SEC level.
Yeah.
But our depth just isn't there where it needs to be.
Sure.
Where we can withstand somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
You take even our running back position, for example. Our top guy is a junior, Patrick Smith. He's a speed guy. and his backup, his number 2 is a true freshman,
Mhm.
Cedric Alexander. But beyond that, there's literally no experience in that room that
Yeah.
has played at SEC level football game.
Yeah.
So one or two of those guys get hurt, and Vanderbilt's in some serious trouble in the run game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. My biggest concern, I think we all know at Tennessee this year is, has the defensive backs improved? I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. Tennessee had a 12-0 offense last year with a 5-7 defense. That's just
Mhm.
a fact of it, man. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, our defense, our pass defense was almost to the bottom in the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
I mean, our defensive backs got burned a lot last year. And if Hendon Hooker wasn't such an amazing player that he was, no way Tennessee was winning 11 ball games last year.
Right.
Well,
So
look at what Spencer Rattler was able to do. Last season to Tennessee. I mean, they made them just look like just a redheaded stepchild. No offense
yeah.
to redheads, I'm just saying.
So my concern for Tennessee getting their secondary better, they got a transfer in. His
Yeah.
name is Gabe Judy Lally.
Mhm.
Played at Vanderbilt his freshman year.
Yeah.
Then went to BYU, and you know, I'm concerned for Tennessee if that's the level of talent they're going to bring in there to fix the problem. I'm not
Mhm.
sure you're actually fixing it because let's be real.
Yeah.
Gabe Judy Lally had 1 tackle last year
Oh,
and
wow.
3 pass breakups.
Yeah.
At Vanderbilt, he was getting torched by UConn wide receivers late in the game that actually gave UConn a lead, and we had to kick the field goal to win the game
Yeah.
when we were up double digits in the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
So if people can identify him and pick on him, you know, I'm concerned if that's actually fixing the Tennessee secondary.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. If I was a top defensive back in the country, I would be looking at coming to Tennessee
Right.
because honestly, you're probably going to start day one. I would almost put money on it, and you are going to get a lot of playing time. If you don't get a lot of playing time in your freshman year, I guarantee you will in your sophomore year. I
And
guarantee it.
Vanderbilt's the same way in the secondary. We've actually got 2 freshmen. Well,
Mhm.
one's a true freshman and the other one is a redshirt freshman because he
Yeah.
tore his ACL last year,
Mhm.
and they're pushing for starting roles already.
Jeez.
So, it, I feel you on the pass defense.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, hey, buddy, this was fun. You know what? We should start doing this Sunday talk with Chris and Dustin. I had a blast doing this first thing in the morning. I know people they're getting ready for church and things like that. So this is just something to kind of get you through the day or whatever. But this was a lot of fun. So who knows? Chris and we may start doing this on Sunday mornings. Just a little talk, here or there, and uh,
Right.
just kind of talk about what's going on in the world of college football and college sports in general.
So I'd be down for it. So I'm
I
not
think
doing
it'd be I think
anything
it'd
on
be a
Sunday
great I
mornings
think it'd be a
normally.
good time. I think it'd be a
Quick
really good time.
quick recap of the day, the previous
Yeah,
day, and a preview of our afternoon show.
yeah, man. Yeah, I think that would be a blast. So who knows? Who knows? You may see us next Sunday as well on here. Just baffling on, just
Right.
rambling on.
Just rambling
But
on.
but no, I mean honestly, we needed to get our opinions out about what was about the landscape of college football.
Yeah, this
Look, I'm not
realignment
happy
stuff
with
is
it.
dangerous. Yeah.
I'm not happy with it at all.
So,
At all.
and what's funny is, you know, I actually in my article I actually put the blame squarely on 2 different entities.
Mhm.
If you remember in 2010, the
Mhm.
University of Colorado, for
Yep.
some strange reason, decided to leave the Big 12 and go to the Pac-10,
Yeah.
which brought 12 teams to the Pac-10.
Mhm.
That set off a chain reaction that we're still going through today. And the second entity was the SEC,
Yeah,
because
I was gonna mention
their
yeah.
response to
Yeah.
Colorado going to the Pac-12 was,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to bring in Missouri and Texas A&M.
Well, now, if you look at the SEC, for instance, you got to go all the way back to 1992 when Arkansas and South Carolina come into the conference as well.
See, but I'm okay with that
Yeah,
because at that point in time, college football was changing,
it was.
and I like what it did in that it gave the SEC two divisions.
Yeah, yeah, East and West. Yep.
It started conference championship games in the
hmm
SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12.
hmm
I thought those were perfect,
Yeah,
but the 2010 Colorado move to the Pac-12, it
yeah.
set off a chain of events where everybody now it's about everybody's. We got to have the bigger conference with the
hmm
most teams and the biggest TV contract,
Yeah.
and that's what, in my opinion, those two moves by Colorado and the SEC in 2010 and 2012 have set all of this in motion.
Let me ask you this before we get out of here, because I stand very firm on this. Would you rather go back to 2007, the greatest college football year of all time, where literally if you were ranked number 2, you was probably getting beat, or how college football is going to be in so I posted this up. Would you rather it be like 2007, or would you rather it be like 2027?
I'd rather have the 2007 type.
I agree. I agree. And look, I understand a lot of people did not like the BCS. I get it. There was a lot of flaws in that system, but at the same time, there was a lot of good in it as well. Everything was generated by a computer. Okay, strength of schedule, your record, and everything. This, nowadays, it's picked by a committee, and they say that style points matter. Do you think that style points really matter? Like, do you think they should matter?
I don't think style points should matter, and I
Yeah.
don't think strength. I personally don't think strength of schedule should matter.
Well, okay, all right. Well, all right. And I kind of get where you're coming from. I kind of think that strength of schedule should matter as far as I think that, and I know you and I we've had this conversation. You look at Boise State, you look at a lot of these other schools that have went
Hmm.
undefeated and everything else. Um, if you kind of look, would you rather see an undefeated SEC team, or would you rather see an undefeated Group of Five team in the national
So
championship?
so in that scenario,
hmm
um, you say
because I mean, let's be honest.
If you say Alabama goes 12-0,
hmm
and they've played 8 games within the state of Alabama
hmm
and have only left their own time zone once,
Yeah.
and you're going to tell this other team that's 12-0
hmm
that literally plays anywhere they can to get a
Yeah.
game.
Sure.
I think that's I think that's a difficult ask for any team.
hmm
You know, flying cross country weekly
hmm
due to the effects on the body. I think that's more difficult than not even leaving your own state.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, strength of schedule don't matter, shouldn't matter because they're going through things that the other teams aren't going through. It's
Okay.
not considered at all,
Okay.
and those players can only play who's put in front of them.
Sure. Yeah. No.
You know,
And,
you take
and I agree with that.
you take the Pac-12. They had opportunities to add a team like Boise State,
Right.
where they could have a more what's perceived as a more difficult schedule,
hmm
and they won't. And to me, that's a problem because the big boy conferences don't want to let these little teams in and get a piece of their pie.
Yeah. No, I
So,
gotcha. And the only reason why I say that I believe that strength of schedule should matter, is because we all know that it is. It's tough to play in the SEC week in and week out. I mean,
right,
you get beat up week after week. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You get
right.
beat up. The Big Ten, well, it's really just Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten and everybody else. Well, I guess now you'll have Oregon in there, but still, the traditional Big Ten, you
Yeah.
had Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, I'll just be honest. The SEC is the toughest conference to play in. I don't care who you are. It is. It's the biggest, baddest, and the best.
See, I see the college football dogs president on here saying Vandy sucks. Well, Vandy's willing to fly to Hawaii and play a football game 4 time zones away.
What about USC, Hunter?
But USC literally leaves their state like twice a year.
Oh, good grief! Oh,
So-
USC. Oh goodness, they're terrible. No, I'm just kidding.
So,
Don't fire me, Hunter. Don't fire me. But
we just wanted to get on here and
Yeah.
throw some thoughts out about the realignment stuff. I
Yeah.
appreciate you mentioned my article. That when
it was,
I wrote
dude,
that,
it was. I mean, I'm being honest. It was a great article. Like, you should consider going into sports writing full time if you could.
so
You
what's
do
funny
an
about
excellent job.
What's funny about that is I typically don't do opinion pieces. That's
No,
not my.
It was great, dude. It was
That's
great.
not my forte. And when I wrote it, I thought it was all over the place. It was just
No,
to
it was.
me, it felt
was
jumbled.
no. It was very well mapped out. It was very thoughtful. You didn't just put a bunch of mumbo jumbo in there. I feel like you knew what you were talking about. No, overall, it was a great piece, and I think you did an
I
excellent
appreciate
job
that.
on it. I mean,
I
honestly.
appreciate that.
So I can't wait to see what your next article consists of. I mean, even Hunter has told me that you're one of the best writers, in the college football dogs. So kudos to you. Good job. I'm proud of you. I've known you now for over a year. So kudos to you. Good job. Honestly.
And
I really do mean that.
I'm very humbled by that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that me and you most of the time we go at each other, but look, I give props when props is needed, and you done excellent. So keep
I
up the
appreciate
good work
that.
on that, buddy.
Well,
But guys, thank you for joining us today. We really do appreciate that. Like I said, who knows? You may start seeing a Sunday conversation with Chris and I. Just getting on here, just messing around, talking some ball, and like you said, previewing the Sunday show for the 4 p.m. slot. So
you never know. Next Sunday we might get on and just talk about the state of Tennessee now having a transfer tracker in high school football.
no, I know.
You never know. We could talk about anything.
Chris, look, dude, we have high school football coming up. What, next week, right? I think
next week.
Yeah, next weekend. Shortly after that, Vandy kicks off on August the 26th. Tennessee kicks off on September the 2nd. Man, I'm fired up over it. I'm so excited for this.
I'm ready to go. Just don't do any realignment during the season. That's
For real,
we're already
though.
confused enough.
For real, though. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm Dustin. That's Chris. You guys have a blessed day. See ya.